Imagine it's the year 1091, and you are a 62-year-old woman named Jeanette, living in the monastic hamlet of Saint Martin-sur-Orge, tucked in a wet fold of northern France. You rise before the sun, not because of piety, but because the boy in the infirmary has begun to scream again. His voice is thin and torn, like a reed flute with a cracked stem. You know the sound now. It's not the sharp cry of sudden pain, but the quivering, rhythmic moan of burning skin. The sisters call it Ignis Sacer, holy fire, though no one believes it's holy. They say it creeps up the limbs like a curse, blackening flesh, curling fingers like twigs in a hearth. You swing your legs over the side of your pallet. The rushes beneath your feet are damp with night frost and the stink of old urine. You press your hands on your knees to rise. Everything aches, the hips, the back, the quiet knot in your stomach that never quite loosens. There's no candle, you know the way by heart. Past the row of sleeping novices, past the chapel where the crucifix looms in shadow, past the door with the iron hinge that always sticks. The infirmary is colder than your cell. You breathe in, and there it is, the smell. Not rot, not yet. But the vapor, that metallic sourness of fever, sweat, and something deeper. Like scorched flour left in the pan too long. He lies in the far cot, arms exposed, the skin of his forearms blistered and red. The sisters shaved him yesterday and rubbed him with wine and elderflower, but it's done nothing. The lesions have spread across his chest, dark and cracked. One eye is sealed shut from swelling. His mother left at sundown. She couldn't bear it. He's 11. You place the bowl of cool salve near the fire to warm, then return to his bedside. You speak softly, words not meant for hearing but for rhythm. Psalms, fragments, memories. His head twitches. A string of drool falls from his lip. You dip the linen into the ash mixture and press it gently onto his skin. He gasps. You know it stings. Ash and ox fat always sting. But sometimes it slows the fire. Sometimes. From the doorway, Sister Odile enters. Her mouth is tight. Another, she says. From the mill. A woman this time. Legs gone black from the knee down. She crosses herself, then mutters, "We should boil the bread." You glance at her. Too late for boiling. She nods. No one says the word. Not ergot. Not tainted grain. That belongs to scholars in far-off cities. Here, the cause is simpler. A test. A warning. A punishment. The boy has begun to shake. Not from cold. His body is soaked in sweat. You move quickly now, adding mint to the basin, fetching the thin blanket that still carries the smell of rosemary. You lift his head, cradling it in your lap, as the spasms ripple through him like waves. He does not scream anymore. You sit like that for a long time. The fire dies lower. The gray light of morning bleeds through the high window. Somewhere in the chapel, the bell tolls for lauds. But you do not move. His eyes are open now, staring at something you cannot see. He will not speak again, not for many days. If you enjoyed my stories, please subscribe to my channel and let me know what you liked and what you didn't like so that I can improve my stories. You can also write where you are from, as I would be interested to know. She arrives wrapped in wool, limp as a sack of wet flax, born between two men who do not speak. The younger one holds her under the arms, the elder grips her ankles, careful not to touch the skin. You watch from the stone steps as they carry her into the infirmary. Her feet trail behind, exposed. Black. Not bruised, not purple, but black as iron scraped too long in fire. You recognize her. A miller's widow named Therese. Quiet. Kept hands. Walked with a limp even before this. Last week she came for yarrow to ease her chest. The cough had taken hold again. She said nothing about her legs. But now, They're the color of soot and hard to the touch. You hear Sister Odile whisper the word under her breath, gangrene. Inside, you strip her slowly. The men avert their eyes. You see the purple line that climbs her thigh like ivy. You know what it means. Not fever. Not spirit possession. It's in the blood now. You clean her gently. Water, vinegar, wool. The smell is sharp. She does not flinch. Her eyes are open but empty, like a woman already watching from the other side of the glass. The abbess says to pray. The prior sends for last rites. But you know that before nightfall, she will be gone. Still you work. Because this is what you do, you treat the dying, not to save them, but to make the leaving slower, softer, more bearable. You keep your hands steady. You hold the body with care, even as it betrays itself. She speaks only once. Not a prayer. Not a question. She says, "It started with warmth. Like embers in my heels. Then it climbed." You ask what she ate. She blinks slowly. The bread. From the new grain. It was bitter. But it filled us. You nod. You've heard it before. When the rye turns black and curls at the tip, it's not meant for eating. But hunger is louder than warnings. Outside, the fog clings to the grass like breath that never lifts. Crows circle the bell tower, their cries sharp as thorns. Inside, you smear the wound with lard and mustard seed, not because it will work, but because you must do something. By evening, she is silent. Her breathing fades like steam. You light a candle and place it near her feet, though there is little left to warm. The men return to take her body. They do not meet your eyes. You scrub the linens with lime and ash. Burn what cannot be saved. Sister Odile vomits behind the chapel. No one speaks of it. That night you sleep sitting up, the smell of charred rye thick in your lungs. And you dream, not of fire, not of blood, but of hands reaching through the dark, groping for bread, still warm from the oven. It begins with singing. Or something like it. You are in the herb garden behind the cloister, cutting sage for salve, when you hear the voice, low, tuneless, pulsing. At first, you think it's a chant, perhaps Brother Laurent practicing psalms. But no. It's too fast. Too breathless. You step to the hedge and peer through the lattice. In the center of the muddy courtyard, a man is dancing. Not with grace. Not with joy. His limbs flail, jerking from side to side, as if pulled by threads. His head snaps, his feet stamp the dirt in erratic rhythm. His mouth hangs open. No words now, just sound. Ragged and rising. A few villagers gather nearby, watching. Some cross themselves. A child laughs, then clutches her mother's leg. You recognize him. Guillaume, the cooper's brother. He was at Mass 2 days ago, quiet, pale. Now his tunic is soaked through, clinging to his back like rags on a dying bird. His hands bleed from the knuckles where he scraped them raw against the stones. You call for help. By the time you reach him, he has collapsed. His chest heaves. His eyes flicker. His feet still twitch, as if they haven't received the message that it's over. They carry him into the infirmary. You send for balm, valerian, poppy seed, wine. He lies on the cot, bones sharp under skin. His muscles spasm at random. He moans. You've seen it once before. Years ago, in the south, during a failed pilgrimage. They called it Chorea Sancti Viti, Saint Vitus's dance. A kind of possession, they said. Caused by sin, or grief, or demons. But you remember something else. The baker's daughter had it first. And the baker had sold the same rye bread Guillaume's family now eats. You whisper to Sister Odile to check the granary. She pales. Mold? You nod. You soak cloth in vinegar and tie it over your mouth. It does nothing for the smell, sour sweat and bile, but it helps you keep breathing. That night Guillaume awakens. His arms thrash again. He tries to sit up but collapses. He begins to laugh, high, shrill, empty. You sit beside him until dawn. The sisters come and go in silence. No one speaks of what it might be. Not in words. By morning he's still. Not dead. Just empty. Like the fire has burned out, but the coals still smoke. No one dares touch his food. Not even the rats. You make note of the bread. You burn it. The girl's name is Aude, and she arrives at twilight with a ribbon tied tight around her throat. It is not silk, but a strip of torn linen, stained pink at the edges, knotted behind her ear. Her father carries her in his arms, boots slick with swamp mud, eyes hollow. He does not speak. His wife walks behind them, gripping a rosary so tightly her fingers have gone white. You see them approach from the window above the infirmary. Sister Odile is dozing in the chair, mouth parted. You do not wake her. You go down alone. They lay the girl on the cot closest to the fire. She is small, no more than 9, and her skin is gray with that waxy stillness that tells you she has not spoken since morning. Her eyes flutter at your touch, and you see it at once, the swelling, deep and cruel, rising from her collarbone to her jaw. The neck is thick, tense as a wineskin. The knot of cloth trembles with her pulse. You know this disease. Not from books, but from memory. You saw it once, as a child, in your cousin's baby. The throat thickened, the voice vanished, and by the next dawn, the body was still. No fever. No wound. Just a closing, like a door quietly locking from the inside. You ask when it began. Her mother whispers, 2 days passed. She had a sore throat. We gave her honey. She could still sing. She breaks off. You wash your hands in rosemary water, tie a cloth around your face, and begin to work. Vinegar, mustard poultice, warm compresses. It won't help. You know it won't. But the hands must move. The girl's chest rises fast, shallow. She makes a small sound, not quite a gasp, not quite a moan, as if trying to speak in a language the body no longer understands. Behind you, the father paces. He does not cry. He keeps looking at the door, as if waiting for someone to arrive who won't. The swelling grows. You tried to lance the boil behind her ear, a desperate, ancient gesture, but no fluid comes. Only a thin trickle of blood. The smell that follows is thick and sweet. You turn your head. You breathe through your mouth. She looks at you now. Fully, directly. Her eyes are dark and calm, as if she already knows. You sit beside her and begin the old lullaby, the one from your village. The one your mother used to sing when the nights were long and the windows rattled. Her eyes flicker. Her lips twitch, trying to form the words. Her body stiffens once, then loosens. You wait. No breath follows. The ribbon lies loose now. The knot slips free. You reach down to untie it, but your hands freeze. There, on her skin, just under the jawline, something new. A faint line. Thin and dark, like ink on parchment. You press gently. It does not smear. It's not from the cloth. You lean closer. It's writing. One word. Letters you do not know, or do not want to know. You pull back. The fire crackles. Behind you, Sister Odile has awoken. She stares at the girl, then at you. You do not speak of the word. Not then. Not ever. But it remains. Not just on the skin. In your mind. Burned there. And that night, as you try to sleep, you hear singing. A child's voice. Soft. And very, very close. The scratching starts just after midnight. You are half asleep, wrapped in your thin blanket, the smell of vinegar still in your hair. At first, it sounds like wind against the shutters. Then you hear the pause, the stillness between movements, and you know it's alive. Mice. Again. You light the oil lamp with hands still stiff from the cold and follow the sound to the far side of the infirmary. Past the cots, past the crates of dried herbs, to the pantry, the one behind the larder where the grain sacks are kept. The scratching stops when you arrive. You kneel, lift the sack, and flinch. There, at the corner seam, is a hole chewed through the cloth. Rye kernels spill out, but not just rye. Among the pale grains are dark ones. Curved. Black at the tips, swollen and stiff. Like claws. You reach for the bowl and sweep a few into it. They smell wrong, bitter and faintly sour, like old ashes. You've seen this before. In the South, long ago. They called it black tooth, devil's grain, the laughing curse. Ergot. It grows on damp rye, twisting through it like a parasite. Those who eat it fall to burning fevers, to visions, to the madness that curls the fingers and dances the feet. But this was supposed to be known. Named. Understood. So why is it happening here? You take the bowl to the firelight and begin sorting kernels, one by one. Some are clean. Others are dark, misshapen. You burn the worst of them in a clay dish, covering your nose. The smoke rises slowly, like incense. It smells of burnt feathers and mold. The next morning, Sister Odile finds you asleep by the hearth, bowl in your lap, fingertips stained black. She says nothing, only stares at the ashes in the dish. That afternoon, a monk arrives from the nearby abbey, cloaked against the rain. He asks to see the afflicted. You lead him to the infirmary, past the empty cot where Aude once lay, to the others, Guillaume, who now whispers to shadows, the boy with the blistered arms, silent and unseeing. The monk carries a leather pouch. From it, he removes a thin iron rod and a small vial. He kneels beside the cooper's brother and begins to chant. You recognize none of the words. Afterward, he asks you quietly where the grain came from. From the mill, you say. The widow's place. But she's gone. He nods. Then, almost as an afterthought, he adds, They buried 6 this week in Corcellus. Same signs. You stare at him. And the priests? He does not answer. He leaves before vespers, walking fast. That evening you return to the pantry. You open every sack. You check each grain. And then you see it. Not a kernel. A tooth. Small. Yellowed. Human. You drop the sack. The room spins. In the silence, a soft sound begins. Scratching. Not from mice. From beneath the floor. For 2 nights the sound continues. Scratching. It does not follow patterns. It does not retreat with prayer or salt. It grows louder only in stillness, as if drawn not to light or warmth, but to silence. And it comes from beneath. Beneath the infirmary floor. You test the planks with your heel. Nothing gives. These are old boards, heavy with wax and time. But when you press your ear to them in the early hours, when the chapel bell is quiet and the sisters are finally asleep, you hear it. Movement. The 3rd night, you rise before matins and carry the lantern to the cellar. The stairs groan under your weight. Your breath clouds the air. Down here the walls are close, the stone damp with winter. Root vegetables hang in braided ropes. Clay jars line the shelves, still sticky with honey. But you are not looking for food. You follow the path along the wall until you reach the grating. A rusted iron hatch, once used to clear waste, now mostly ignored. You kneel. Listen. Nothing. Then a shuffle. A single tap. and something soft, like fabric dragging across stone. You stand too quickly. The lantern jerks. The flame flickers. In that moment, your own shadow leaps across the barrels like a thing fleeing. You do not scream. You go back upstairs. You close the hatch. You bolt the door behind you. By dawn, you convince yourself it was rats. Until Brother Arnaud is found dead. He was not one of yours. He tended the gardens, not the sick. A tall man with red hands and a laugh that could carry over walls. They find him face down in the turnip patch, arms outstretched, eyes open. His lips are dark. His tongue is missing. They say it was wolves. But no blood marks the grass. You help wrap the body in cloth. The sisters whisper prayers, too fast, too quiet. One crosses herself with both hands. The abbess orders the garden blessed. You are told to stay inside after sunset. You nod. But that night, you sit beside the hearth long after the others have retired. You place the burnt tooth, the one you found in the grain sack, into the coals. Watch it blacken, crack, curl. It does not melt. It splits. Inside, a thread of something pale. Not flesh. Not bone. You poke it with iron tongs. It curls away from the heat. You drop it into the fire. It rides once. Then turns to ash. You do not sleep that night. And before dawn, the scratching begins again. But now, it is not alone. Now, it is joined by a sound you haven't heard in years. Breathing. Just beneath the boards. You do not tell the abbess. Not about the breathing. Not about the floor. Not about the tooth that cracked like eggshell and moved as if alive. You tell no one. Not because of fear, but because of knowing that knowledge is unwelcome here. This is a place where illness is sin, where rot is punishment, and where silence is safer than truth. But the others begin to notice. Guillaume, the cooper's brother, no longer sleeps. He stares at the ceiling, eyes dry and unblinking, muttering in a voice that is not his. You catch pieces, syllables that do not belong to French or Latin, low and rhythmic like prayer turned inside out. One night, he recites part of Psalm 6, but backward. Sister Odile says it's the fever. You say nothing. The boy with the blistered arms worsens. His skin peels in patches, but there is no pus, no heat. Beneath the flaking tissue, the flesh appears clean. Almost too clean. Pale. Silken. Like something not yet meant for air. You try to apply balm. He recoils. His mouth opens, and for a moment you are sure he is about to scream. But instead he whispers, "Don't." It is the first word he has spoken in weeks. You draw back. "What do you see?" you ask. He blinks. "They're under." "Who?" He breathes, shallow and quick. "The ones that shine." You feel your skin crawl. That night you cannot bring yourself to enter the chapel. You stand at the threshold while the sisters chant Compline. Their voices echo in the stone, but behind the chant you hear something else. A second harmony. Low. Whispering. Mimicking the melody but not the words. You lean against the cold arch, breath held. It is not wind. Not echo. It moves beneath the floor. In rhythm with the psalms. You watch as one of the novices, a girl of 14 named Blanche, pauses mid-verse, her mouth slack. Her eyes drift to the flagstone beneath her feet. She sways once. Her candle drops. She falls. By the time you reach her, she is convulsing. Sister Odile cries out. The abbess demands holy water. You press your hand to Blanche's chest, feel the beat of her heart, and stop. It is too slow. Too steady. As if marching. When she wakes, she does not remember falling. She asks what day it is. She says she had a dream of blue mouths in the dark. Later, as you help carry her to the infirmary, your fingers brush her wrist. There is a mark there now. Small. Round. Like a coin pressed into flesh. You touch it. She flinches. Don't, she says. They listen through that. You stare at her. What listens? But she has already turned away, curling into the cot, eyes wide and sleepless. That night, the abbess orders a mass for cleansing. The monks sing louder. But the whispers stay in time. On the 8th morning, the stone floor cracks. It happens in the washroom. You are wringing linens over the basin, your hands red from lye and cold water, when the floor beneath the cistern gives a soft, brittle groan. You freeze. The basin wobbles. A slow drop of brown water trails down the rim, falls to the center of the room, and vanishes. Not into a puddle. Into a fissure. You kneel. Push aside the straw mat. There it is, a crack, fine as a knife slit, no longer than a finger, running across the stone. And from within it, a sound. A hollow wind. But not rising, sinking. You place your ear to it. There's movement. Wet, uneven. Like boots in a tunnel. Or hands dragging something heavy across mud. You back away. You tell Sister Odile. She frowns, then kneels, listens. Her face goes pale. She tells the abbess. The abbess orders the room sealed. The stone is weakened, she says. We will patch it. But she does not ask what was heard. That night, 2 more children fall ill. One, a shepherd's son named Eloy, comes with his mother just after sunset. His skin is hot, his eyes unfocused. He cannot stop laughing. Even as he coughs, even as he claws at his chest, he laughs, dry and breathless, the sound sharp and too fast. His mother weeps. He won't stop, she says. Even in sleep. Even when he bleeds. You take him in. You try wine, mint oil. It does nothing. The girl, a novice, Marguerite, comes during vigils. She is carried in. Her hands tremble. Her jaw is clenched shut. Her eyes locked in one direction, down. Always down. She will not speak. Will not blink. Just stares at the floor as though she hears a story only she understands. You take her in, too. You sleep beside them. In the same room where the boy with blistered arms no longer blinks. Where Guillaume has stopped muttering, and now hums tunelessly through clenched teeth. You begin to realize something. None of them sweat. Not anymore. Their bodies shiver. Their lips crack. Their eyes drift. But not one of them glistens with fever sweat. You recall old texts from a visiting scribe years ago. Illness with no sweat. Madness without heat. He called it dry fire. Flame beneath the skin that did not burn but consumed. He said it came once, in Aragon, before the wells turned red. You do not tell this to anyone. But the next morning, you return to the washroom. The floor has been patched, clumsily, with plaster and boards. But the air still sinks cold along the seams. You press your hand to the stone. It is warmer than your skin. And behind it, not below, but behind, you feel something new. A vibration. Like breath. And a second later, something answers. The letter comes at dawn. Delivered by a rider from the abbey, his hands blue from cold, his horse foaming at the mouth. He says little. Leaves the parchment sealed in wax with the abbess. She does not read it aloud. But she orders a room cleared. The man arrives before terse. He is not a monk, not by dress. A plain wool cloak, thick gloves, a limp in his left leg. His beard is trimmed but not groomed, and his eyes, those are the first thing you notice, are clouded. Not from blindness. From something else. The way old glass clouds, not because it's dirty, but because it's forgotten how to be clear. He does not introduce himself. He asks to see the afflicted. You guide him in silence. He pauses at each bed. Says nothing. His lips move slightly, as if counting, or repeating names only he can hear. He smells of chalk, metal, and cold leather. Not like a physician. Not like a monk. Like something older. When he reaches Marguerite's cot, he kneels. She does not look at him. Still staring at the floor. He places a gloved hand gently on her wrist. His head tilts. Slowly. Too slowly. He speaks only once. She hears them. You feel your mouth go dry. Who? He looks at you. And for a second, just a second, you see something terrible in his face. Recognition. He does not answer. Instead, he removes a small packet from his satchel, wrapped in red cloth. Inside, a powder, greenish, dry, with a smell like earth and blood. He gives it to you. Burn this, he says. At the mouth of the cellar. Do not breathe it. Do not speak while it burns. You ask what it is. He says, memory. Of something best forgotten. Then he turns and leaves. You watch from the window as he mounts his horse. Rides north. Vanishes into fog. You do as he asked? That night you go to the cellar door. Sister Odile begs you not to. The abbess forbids it. But you go. Alone. The iron hatch is cold in your hand. You open it. The breath comes at once, not wind, not air, but the pressure of a held sigh exhaled slowly after centuries. You place the powder in a shallow dish. Strike flint. The flame is silent. It does not crackle. It hums. Smoke rises in threads, weaving like fingers. You step back. It smells like rain in a crypt. Like old parchment soaked in tears. And then, as the last of the powder curls into smoke, you hear it. Not from below. From behind your own ear. A voice. Yours. But younger. Saying a name you do not remember. And then another. And another. The names of children. Children you never bore. Children who speak in your voice. You drop the dish. Stamp the flame. It dies with a hiss. The cellar exhales. And from the darkness beneath the hatch, a soft scraping sound begins again. But this time, it's not mice. It's fingers. You begin keeping oil in your apron. Not for lighting. For the hinges. You oil the doors, the windows, the cabinets, anything that groans, clicks, or snaps. The night must stay silent now. You need to hear. Because something is moving inside the infirmary. Not just beneath. Among. It begins with Guillaume's bed. One morning, it is not where it should be. 2 feet closer to the window. You ask the novices, they swear they haven't touched it. You try to move it yourself. The legs leave no drag marks on the rushes. No sign of shifting. As if it had always stood there. The next day, it's turned. Slightly. Angled away from the wall. Guillaume does not speak of it. He simply lies there. Watching the ceiling. Humming, always humming. You place his bed back. The next night the humming stops. When you check on him, the room is silent. Too silent. Even the boy's shallow breath is gone. You kneel beside Guillaume. He blinks slowly. Then says, I didn't do it. You follow his gaze. His bed is now pointed toward the cellar hatch. You wake the abbess. She tells you to pray. You tell her that the furniture moves. She tells you not to speak of it. You want to shout. But your voice feels far away now. like it belongs to someone standing 3 feet behind you, wearing your clothes. So you say nothing. But that night, you mark the floor with ash. Lines, straight and careful, around each cot. When morning comes, 2 of the lines are broken, scattered as if by wind. Or something heavier. The cot nearest the fire now faces the door. Inside it, Marguerite lies with her hands folded, not on her chest, as you left them, but under her head. As though someone had tucked her in. You check her pulse. Still there. Weak. But steady. You lift her eyelid. Her pupil does not contract. But it is no longer fixed. It drifts. Left. Then center. Then down, always down, toward the floor. You whisper her name. Her lips twitch. You lean closer. And hear it. Not from her throat. From the mattress. From beneath. A voice. Calling her name. Not yours. Not the name she was given. A different one. Spoken in a language you do not know, but feel you've heard. Somewhere far back. Before the Abbey. Before your husband died. Before your name was Jeanette. You sit on the cold stone floor and press your fingers to your temples. You do not remember being anyone else. But now, you begin to doubt. By the 11th day, even the water forgets itself. You first notice it when you fetch the morning basin. The surface is dull, not with dirt, but with silence. Usually, water remembers sound, the echo of footsteps, the sigh of steam, the clink of iron. This bowl holds none. You dip your fingers. It's warm. You didn't heat it. You carry it to the boy's bedside. He's the one who blistered. His sores have closed now, leaving strange skin, smooth, pearl-like, too pale. Not scarred. Changed. He no longer moans. He simply stares. You clean his forehead. His eyes stay on you, but they no longer follow your hand. You whisper his name. No response. You press your fingers gently to his neck, feel the faint rhythm of life. Still there. You dip the cloth again. Pause. A shimmer, not on the surface, but beneath it. A ripple from the center. The water sways, though your hand is still. You place the bowl aside. Step back. Sister Odile enters, carrying salt. She's taken to sprinkling it in the corners now. In doorways. Across sills. Not by abbess order, but from fear. The old kind, the kind people hide beneath folded linens and polite silence. She eyes the boy. Then the bowl. Without a word, she takes a pinch of salt. Drops it in. It hisses. Not the water, the salt itself. Each grain burns like ash, fizzing upward, tiny pale sparks rising from the surface. You look at each other. Either of you speaks. She sprinkles more across the threshold. Are we cursed? She asks. Not as a question, but as a child asking the dark to stop moving. You don't answer. That evening you prepare the bread for the sick. Barley. Old rye, sifted and baked hard. Before serving you break open one of the loaves. Inside, a seed. Not rye. Not wheat. Black. Curled. With a skin like bone. You burn it. The flame turns green for a moment. Guillaume begins to sing again, not aloud, but through his teeth, in a rhythm too even to be coincidence. You crush the rest of the grain. Mix it with salt. Stir until your arms ache. The abbess finds you at the hearth, your hands trembling, your apron soaked with brine. She kneels beside you. What is it? She asks. You hold up the mixture. Your voice is quiet. It's not bread anymore. It remembers something else. The abbess stares at the bowl. Then at you. Her mouth opens, to argue, to pray, to rebuke, but nothing comes. Because she knows. That night, someone scratches at the infirmary door. Not knocks. Scratches. Fingernails. Not one person. Several. You rise. Take the salt. Pour a line across the threshold. The scratching stops. But not before you hear the last sound. A child's voice. Familiar. Whispering. You fed us this. In the storeroom, under the third shelf from the back, you find the ledger. You hadn't meant to. You were reaching for dried comfort, your hands numb with fatigue, when your fingers brushed the thin leather edge. Tucked flat beneath a broken box, dust thick and brittle with damp. You bring it into the light. The ink is faded, but the script is neat, Sister Colette's hand. She kept inventory during the famine 2 winters ago. You remember her, stern, quick-fingered, never wasteful. She died with her hands folded, mouth open as if mid-word. You flip through. Grain counts. Weights. Names. A list of deliveries, sacks from the widow Therese, barley from the orge fields, rye from the loam mill. And then, entries you don't remember seeing. Dates without days. Quantities without measures. Marks beside names you thought had left years ago. Then you see yours. Jeanette. 3 rounds. Mill grain. You trace the line. Beside it, Sister Colette had written one word. Accepted. You remember no such transaction. But you do remember the bread. Hard, dark, slightly bitter. Eaten in silence as you watched Guillaume's brother begin to twitch. As Aude first wore her ribbon. As the boy began to blister. You shut the book. It does not close. The cover warps against itself, no longer flush. Inside, between 2 pages, a flat object presses outward. You open to it. A fragment of cloth. Thin, frayed at the edges. Not from a robe or a tunic. Something ceremonial. A ribbon? You hold it to the light. There, faint but visible, a mark. A circle within a circle. Crossed by a single vertical line. Not a letter. Not a seal. A symbol. You've seen it. On the child's neck. The one who spoke through silence. You wrap the fragment in a clean rag. Tuck it into the coffer with the bitter herbs. That night you bake new bread. Your hands tremble. You sift every grain 3 times. You boil the flour. You salt the water. You pray, not to a saint, not to God, but to the stillness that lives between words. The silence that holds the voices in. The bread rises oddly. The crust blisters. Inside, the color is wrong, a soft gray, like the ash left from burning bones. You do not feed it to the sick. You bury it behind the infirmary, beneath the old tree where the nuns used to dry linen. The earth accepts it without a sound. But as you cover the hole, your fingers brush something buried deeper. Not wood. Not stone. Fabric. You dig further. A bundle. Small. Wrapped tight. Damp from soil. You unwrap it. Inside, the bones of a child. Still wearing a linen band around the throat. Your throat closes. You replace the soil. You do not scream. But you feel it now. The weight in the bread. The voice in the grain. It was never the sickness that spread. It was the memory. And now you've eaten it. It begins with a refusal. Sister Julienne, youngest of the cloistered, turns away her bread at the midday meal. At first, no one notices. The abbess is speaking, and the older sisters are busy dipping their crusts into broth. But you see it. The way Julienne's hands stay folded in her lap. The slight twitch of her nose as the steam rises from her bowl. The way her eyes do not blink. You say nothing. Watch. The next day, she refuses again. When the abbess asks why, she answers, "It's not ours anymore. What isn't? The bread. The abbess frowns. You think it's spoiled? Julien's gaze doesn't shift. No. It's listening. Silence falls. Sister Odile coughs. The abbess orders her to eat. Julien does not move. You try to catch her eye, but she does not look at you. After the meal, you find her in the orchard, sitting beneath the almond tree that hasn't bloomed in 3 years. You sit beside her. She speaks first. It sings now. You wait. She continues, when I walk past the cellar, when I pass the old bread bin, it hums, like a voice with no mouth, as if it wants to be remembered. You ask gently, do you think the sickness is memory? She nods. Slowly, as if the answer costs her something. You do not speak again. That night, Sister Julienne does not return to the dormitory. You find her in the storeroom, kneeling before the old flour sacks. One has been torn open. The powder is everywhere, on her hands, her face, her robe. She's weeping. Not from fear. From relief. I wanted to see if it was still in there. She whispers. You kneel beside her. Your throat burns. What is? She places a trembling hand over the flour and presses it flat. A single motion. The part that remembers what it used to be. Before bread. Before grain. When it was something older. Hungrier. You take her hand. Try to lead her away. But her body tightens. She convulses. Her head falls back, not violently, but with terrible grace. Her lips part. Her eyes roll white. And from her mouth comes not a scream, not a gasp, a sigh. Low, gentle, like something exhaled after being buried too long. You lay her down on the stone. She does not speak again that night. But the next morning, when she opens her eyes, they are no longer hers. They stare past you, as if seeing someone else in your place. She does not eat again, and neither do you. The bread oven has gone cold. No one will touch it now. Not since the night the loaves came out bleeding steam that smelled not of yeast, but of old wool and salt. You tried, once, to clean it, scrubbed the stone with ash and wine. But when you reached to touch the back wall, you felt it, damp, soft, breathing. Since then, the oven has stood unused. But the smell lingers. Not always. Only in the moments between movement, when the sisters rise for prayer, or the bell tolls the hour, or a pot is lifted from the hearth. Then it slips in, thin and wet, like smoke from a candle that was never lit. Today, it follows you into the infirmary. You carry broth for the boy, now barely breathing, and pause at the threshold. There it is. The scent. Not rot. Not illness. Wool. Wet, unwashed wool left too long in a sealed chest. You step inside. All the sick are still. Even Guillaume. Even Julien. You approach the boy's cot. His chest rises. Then falls. But his skin, once covered in blisters, is smooth now. Flawless. Pale. You pull back the blanket. His arms are gone. Not removed. Not torn. Gone. Where they should be, only indentations remain. As if the body had folded inward. As if it had consumed itself. Like grain curling inward when scorched too long. You stumble back. Drop the bowl. It shatters. Still, no one stirs. You shout for Sister Odile. She comes running, apron stained, eyes wide. She sees. She crosses herself. Then faints. You drag her to the wall. Splash her with water. She wakes sobbing. Not for the boy. For herself. I fed them, she whispers. I baked. I kneaded. You kneel beside her. You want to comfort her. But you can't. Because your hands are shaking too hard. You go to the storeroom. Break open the last sealed sack of grain, untouched since autumn. You pour a handful onto the table. It clinks. Not the sound of kernels. The sound of teeth. Tiny. Dry. Yellowed. And then, rising from the pile, a thin curl of black smoke. You watch it twist in the air, searching, like a finger. Then, before your eyes, it enters the wall. The stone darkens. Stays dark. You fall to your knees. Your hands sink into the spilled grain. It's warm. Not with fire. With memory. And from it, faintly, comes a whisper. A name. Yours. But not your name now. Your name before. The one you haven't heard since your mother died, and no one was left to remember it. The abbess calls a fast. No bread. No wine. No grain. For 3 days. The kitchen is sealed. The mill locked. The novices kept in prayer from matins to Compline. She does not name the reason, only says it is to cleanse. But everyone knows. By now, for our dead. 2 buried without rites. And still no one has left. No one dares. You sit beside Sister Julienne. She has not spoken since the storeroom. Her lips are dry. Her face sunken. She stares always at the same spot on the far wall, a patch of stone that has begun to darken, not with mold, but with shadow. At times you think it shifts. You watch it for hours. You do not blink. You do not trust your eyes anymore. That evening, a novice breaks the fast. She is only 12. She stole a crust left behind, something forgotten, wedged into the sleeve of a cloak. Just a mouthful. She doesn't even finish it. Before Vespers, she begins to choke. Not on the bread. On breath. Her throat does not swell. Her pulse does not race. She simply cannot remember how to breathe. She claws at her chest, eyes wide. Her mouth opens. No air moves. You and Sister Odile rush to her. But even as you reach her side, she collapses. When you place your ear to her chest, there is no silence. There is sound. But not a heartbeat. Whispering. As though someone is speaking through her lungs, too deep to reach the mouth. You press your fingers to her lips. A chill runs through you. You can feel it on her breath. A single word, repeated, not in voice, but in shape. A word you now know. The same that was carved inside the child's skin. You stand. You stagger to the chapel. It is full of candles, but no warmth. The light here feels thin. Afraid. You fall to your knees. You whisper a prayer, not to be saved, not for healing, but for understanding. If this is a punishment, then for what? If this is a sickness, then why does it carry your name? You close your eyes. And something answers. Not in words. In memory. A moment. A harvest day, long ago. A hand? Yours. Taking bread from a sack that smelled of vinegar and smoke. You were warned. But you were hungry. You baked it. You served it. You fed it to your mother. To your brothers. You did not eat it yourself. You said there was not enough. You wake on the chapel floor. Your mouth is full of ash. But you did not burn anything. The floor beneath you is dry. And from the altar, faint and steady, comes the smell of warm bread. Fresh. And waiting. No one knows who placed it there. Not the novices. Not the abbess. Not you. And yet, when you enter the chapel at dawn, there it is. A single loaf of dark bread. Resting on the altar. Uncut. Still warm. You do not move. You feel its heat from across the nave. See the faint steam rising from the crust. A small curl, like a breath just exhaled. The sisters gather behind you, silent. No one steps forward. Sister Odile whispers, "Was it meant as an offering?" The abbess says nothing. Then Julienne, pale, hollow-eyed, walks forward. Alone. You want to stop her. But you don't. You watch. She approaches the altar barefoot. The stone echoes with each step. She kneels before the bread, closes her eyes, and smiles. A full, quiet smile, not joyful, not peaceful, but familiar, like someone recognizing an old friend. Then she opens her mouth and begins to speak. You do not understand the words. They are not French, not Latin, not anything you have heard since childhood, when the old ones muttered charms behind closed shutters during lean winters. The abbess hisses for silence, orders her to stop. Julienne keeps speaking. Her voice deepens, slows. You step forward now, heart hammering. She turns to you. And in your voice, not hers, she says, "You gave it to us." The bread trembles. Only slightly. A shiver beneath the crust. Julienne reaches toward it. You scream. The abbess moves faster. She grabs Julienne's wrist, not hard, just enough to stop her hand from touching the loaf. The girl's mouth goes slack. She slumps, breathing, but not waking. You carry her back to the infirmary. No one speaks of it again. That evening you return to the chapel. Alone. The bread is gone. In its place, a stain. Dark. Round. The size of a child's face. You kneel before it. Touch your fingers to the stone. They come away clean. But your skin itches for hours. That night you cannot sleep. Not for fear. For hunger. Not in your stomach. In your chest. A tightness. An ache. A hollow where something used to be. You rise before the bell. Go to the pantry. Open the grain bin. The last sack sits untouched. Inside, beneath the rye, is something new. Not a kernel. Not a worm. A tooth. Your own. The one you lost at 12, biting through old crust in a year of poor harvest. You remember the pain. You remember the blood. But you do not remember placing it here. Still, there it is. Waiting. No one knows who made the stew. But it was there, simmering in the pot at midday, thick, dark, sweet-smelling. You didn't prepare it. Nor did Sister Odile. The novices swore they'd lit no fire. And yet the pot was hot, the broth fragrant, and beside it, stacked neatly on a wooden board, slices of rye bread. Not burnt. Not bitter. Fresh. You do not speak. You watch the steam rise. And one by one, the sisters come, drawn by the scent. Hungry. Tired. Unquestioning. They eat. First one. Then 3. Then all. Even the abbess. They say nothing. Just chew. Swallow. Smile. Only Julienne doesn't eat. She stands by the door, arms crossed, face pale. Watching. You do not eat either. You sit beside her, the two of you like statues while the others feed. But then, they begin to change. Not all at once. Slowly. Their skin grows damp, not with sweat, but with oil, like wax under a candle flame. Their voices rise, unprompted, in low humming, different tones, but all in the same key. You listen. You recognize it. The same note Guillaume used to hum. The same tone that echoed through Julienne's breath when she spoke in your voice. You rise. The stew bubbles. You approach it. Look inside. It is thicker than it should be. Too dark. You dip the ladle. Bring it close. And see it. Not chunks of root or meat, but pieces of parchment. Words written in fading ink. Half-legible names. Not saints. Not recipes. But signatures. Yours. Odil's. Colette's. Even Julien's. You step back. Stumble. Julien catches you. You didn't feed them, she whispers. They fed you. The sisters begin to hum louder now. Eyes closed. Rocking gently. One begins to weep. Another sways on her feet. And then, as if on cue, they speak in unison. We remember. You try to shout. To pray. But your mouth is dry. Your own name, the one you'd almost forgotten, echoes inside your skull. The one you signed in the ledger long ago, during the famine. When you knew the grain was wrong. And gave it anyway. You turn to Julienne. Tears in your throat. She touches your hand. And gently says, "It wasn't the grain." You look at her. She nods toward the others. It was the silence. You hadn't meant to look. The mirror hangs in the novice's chamber, cracked across the middle from when the firewood shelf collapsed last winter. No one uses it much. Vanity has no place here. But this morning, as you pass by carrying blankets, something in the corner of your eye draws you back. You turn. You expect your reflection. What you see is someone else. Still wearing your robe. Still with your hair. Still with your face. But not you. Her eyes are slightly off. Her hands too still. Her mouth curved in a smile that belongs to no part of your body. You freeze. The mirror flickers. Then clears. It's you again. Exactly as you should be. You step closer. Breathe once. And with the back of your hand, wipe the glass. It comes away black. Not soot. Ash. Fine. Soft. Warm. Your breath hitches. You wipe again. More ash. You press your fingers to the glass. It's warm. You press harder. It gives. Only slightly. As if the mirror were not glass, but skin stretched over something breathing. You back away. The blankets fall. Julienne finds you moments later, kneeling on the floor, hands blackened. You do not speak. She kneels beside you, brushes your shoulder, and says quietly, "They're almost done remembering." You whisper, "Who?" She looks at the mirror, then at you, and for the first time since the sickness began, you see her cry. They are us. That night you sit with the dying again. But this time, it's Sister Odile. Her body trembles. Her lips move without sound. You hold her hand. She squeezes once, tighter than you expect. She brings her mouth close to your ear. And in a voice like cracking wood she says, "It came in through the mouth, but it stays in the heart." You nod. She exhales. And is still. The next morning, you wake with the taste of earth in your throat. And ash beneath your fingernails. But you do not remember touching the mirror again. They ask you to bless the well. 3 more sisters fell in the night. Not from fever. Not from madness. They simply stopped moving. No struggle. No final gasp. Their hands folded neatly over their chests, as if someone had prepared them. But no one had. The abbess sends you with a bowl of salt and a branch of dried thyme. "Cast it over the water," she says, "and say the rite." You do as told. The well stands just beyond the herb garden, old stones damp with moss. It smells faintly of iron and earth. You draw the bucket up. The water is clear. Too clear. You cast the salt. Speak the words. Drop the thyme. It floats. Then sinks. The surface ripples. but not from wind. From something below. You do not peer over the edge. You do not want to know what waits beneath. Instead, you sit beside the stones. You place your hand on the rim. And listen. For a while, there is only silence. Then, faint, slow, wet, a voice. Your voice. Repeating one sentence. It was enough to feed them. You rise. You walk back inside. The chapel bells toll the 6th hour. You look around. Only 8 sisters remain. None of them speak. All of them hum. That same soft note. One holds a slice of bread between her palms like an icon. Another weaves her fingers in a shape that matches the sigil burned into the old ledger's final page. You find Julienne in the infirmary, brushing the boy's hair. The boy who no longer breathes. She knows. But she doesn't stop. You kneel beside her. Ask, "How long until we forget?" She answers without turning. "We already did. That's how it got in." You look at the child. His lips move. No sound. You lean close. He mouths 2 words. "Feed us." Julienne stands. Takes your hand. Together you walk to the pantry. The last sack waits. You do not touch it. You sit beside it. Until the sun sets. And the stones beneath your feet begin to warm. As if remembering something they too once swallowed. The abbess dies before midnight. They find her seated at her desk, eyes open, mouth closed. Her candle has long since burned out, the wax hardened into a spiral on the stone. In her lap, the book of the dead. Open. Blank. No name written. Not even her own. You are the one to close her eyes. The sisters do not weep. They carry her body to the cold room without ceremony. Without psalm. Her hands are crossed, but stiff. As if even in death, she refused to bend. Julienne watches from the doorway. "Will we bury her?" she asks. You don't answer. There is no earth left that feels clean. You return to the pantry. To the last sack. You tear it open. Let the flour spill. It falls in soft heaps, pale and silent. You run your hand through it. It's warm again. Inside, scattered between the grains, you find something new. Tiny scraps of parchment. Like shavings. You lift one. A name. You find another. And another. Each with a name. Some you know. Some you've forgotten. All women. All once part of this place. You begin to dig. Deeper. More fragments. Some stained. Some fresh. And deeper still, beneath the flower, cloth. Wrapped around something solid. You pull it free. It's not a relic. Not a scroll. It's a stone. Small. Flat. Etched with the symbol you once saw on the bread ribbon. But now it's clearer. Not a sigil. Not a seal. A command. Repeat. You drop it. Your hands are white. Your face itches. You wipe it on your robe. Ash comes away. But there's been no fire. Julienne enters. She looks at the stone. Then at the sack. Then at you. Her voice is low. They ground them into it. You look up. They ground what? She doesn't blink. Memory. The flower was never just spoiled. Never cursed. It was full. Of what was hidden. Of what was fed to others. You rise, hand pressed to your stomach. You feel it now, the ache. Not hunger. Guilt. The knowledge that you baked with this. You handed it to children. To novices. To the poor. You made them eat what should have been buried. Julienne kneels. Begins to write names on the wall. With ash. She asks without turning, "How many will we remember?" You answer. As many as we must. And you kneel beside her. And begin to write. By sunrise, there are 57 names on the wall. Some are faint. Others sharp, etched by hands shaking with effort. All written in ash, not ink, because ink could lie. But ash remembers. The stone absorbs them slowly. As though it, too, wishes to confess. Julienne no longer speaks. She writes. Sleeps. Then writes again. You feed her broth, nothing more. You will not serve bread. Not now. Not again. The sisters come one by one. Some kneel. Some stare. A few begin to add names of their own, grandmothers, children, farmers, even strangers they remember only by face. Not because they know these souls died from the sickness, but because they died near it. And no one ever asked why. Guillaume, the first to hum, begins to stir. He does not wake, but his mouth moves. Not in muttering now. In rhythm. Not a song. A list. You bend close to hear. He's reciting names. Different from the wall. You write them down. They match. Perfectly. Every one already written. And then, he adds a new one. Yours. You freeze. The sisters look to you. No one speaks. Julienne walks to the door. Stares out at the morning fog. Then turns. The wall isn't for the dead, she says. You shake your head. Then for who? She steps aside. Those who fed it. You stare at the list. Your name is near the bottom now. Not alone. But there. You press your palm against it. Ash clings to your skin. You don't wipe it off. That night, a wind rises. Not from outside. From within the pantry. A soft stirring, like air exhaled from a sealed jar. You go to it. You expect the sack to be empty. It's not. The grain has grown. Filled to the top again. And on the surface, more fragments of parchment. You don't read them. You sew the sack shut. Bind it in cloth. Write no label. And carry it to the cellar. Julienne lights the way. You place the sack in the far corner, behind the old altar stones. You do not bury it. You leave it watching. You look to Julienne. She nods. You're ready now. You don't ask for what. Because you already know. You don't tell the others what you've done with the sack. But they know. They see it in your shoulders, which no longer rise when the bell rings. In your hands, which have stopped trembling. In your silence, which is heavier now, no longer empty, but full. They return to their duties slowly. The infirmary still holds 3 sick. 2 of them no longer speak. One of them, the boy, now eats again. But not much. Only broth. And only from your hands. He will not take it from anyone else. When he sleeps, he mouths more names. Some old. Some not yet spoken. You try not to listen. But you hear them anyway. Sister Odile is buried quietly. Know him. Only a line on the wall. Julienne writes it. She no longer uses your ink. Only ash. Each morning you find her sweeping the dormitory floor, collecting the fine black dust that settles now, even where no candles have burned. It comes from the stone. The walls exhale it. Gently. Almost lovingly. Like breath from a mouth that has waited too long to speak. You visit the cellar alone again. The cloth wrapping the sack is damp. Not with water. With heat. The stones beneath it have warmed. You kneel. Press your palm to the ground. It pulses once, not a vibration. A heartbeat. You rise. Take the old boards. Place them over the bundle. Stone on top. No nails. No blessing. Just weight. And silence. You whisper. I fed them. And the stone gives a soft groan, not of pain, not even of warning. Of agreement. That night, a novice wakes screaming. You run to her. She says she dreamt of baking. Her own hands shaping loaves. But when she broke them open, the bread bled salt water. And inside, her own face. You hold her until she stops shaking. Tell her it was a dream. But even as you say it, your own mouth tastes of brine. When she sleeps again, you go to the chapel. Alone. You place a blank sheet on the altar. And you write a new name. Not yours. Not hers. It's one you cannot pronounce, but must remember. Because forgetting is what let it grow. It rains on the 23rd night. Not heavily. Just enough to soften the soil. To turn the paths to mud. The kind of rain that lingers in stone and cloth. That soaks into places where it wasn't welcome. You wake early. Too early. Something is wrong. The pantry door is open. Not broken. Opened. By someone with the key. You descend the steps barefoot. Julienne is there. Kneeling. The sack you buried, sits open on the table. Not empty. Full. Flour, perfectly white. Too white. Julienne's hands are covered in it. Not shaking. Still. She looks up. I thought I could control it, she says. If I made the bread myself. If I did it right. If I named each name as I needed. You step forward. Touch her shoulder. You didn't bake it? She shakes her head. No. You both look to the oven. Cold. Unlit. Yet on the table. 2 loaves. Fresh. Uncut. Still steaming. You whisper. It used her. Julienne doesn't answer. She reaches for a knife. You stop her. Her eyes lock on yours. Not angry. Not afraid. Just tired. They'll eat again, she says. You shake your head. They won't. She lowers the knife. You take it. You lift one of the loaves. It's soft. Dense. Familiar. You press your thumb to the crust. The indentation holds. You break it open. Inside, not grain. Not ash. Hair. Not much. Just a strand. Wrapped around a sliver of parchment. You pull it free. The writing is blurred. But you know what it says. You've read that word before. On the inside of a dead child's skin. On the back of your own hand once, when you wiped the oven stone with too much pressure. You don't say it aloud. You wrap the bread in cloth. You walk to the well. Julienne follows. You drop the loaf in. It does not splash. It sinks. Straight down. As if drawn. The water does not ripple. Julienne speaks. Not to you. To whatever's beneath. I gave back what was taken. The well breathes. Cool air rises from it. And on that breath, the faintest scent. Not bread. Milk. From long ago. Before hunger. Before famine. Before the silence. You close the well cover. Bolt it. Then turn. You and Julienne say nothing more. But your stomach twists. Not from guilt now. From knowing. Because the grain always returns. And next time, someone else will be hungry. The following morning, the novices are gone. Not missing, sent away. You did it before the bell, before the sisters rose, while the sky still bruised blue and gray. You gave them no explanation. Only cloaks. Shoes. And instructions. Walk east. Do not look back. Do not take food. Do not ask questions. Julienne watched from the cloister steps. She'll come for them, she said. Eventually, you did not ask who she was, because you already knew. The bread never wanted worship, only memory, and those who forget are safest. You and Julien returned to the infirmary. Only Guillaume remains now. He is thinner, quieter. His mouth stills, but his eyes follow you again. You sit beside him. He touches your sleeve and asks, in a voice dry with salt, "Was I the first?" You shake your head. "No." He nods, closes his eyes, and says no more. You walk the corridors now with a satchel of flour. Not for baking, for marking. Each doorway receives a line. Each sill, each stone vent. A thin white slash, no longer to ward off evil, but to name it. Because flour was what spread it. Flour is what carries it. And flour is now your ink. Julien does the same with ash. Together, you crisscross the abbey. By sunset, the place looks like a ruined scripture. Not holy. Not cursed. Just honest. The remaining sisters speak less now. But when they do, it is of what they remember. Not visions. Not dreams. Acts. Moments they denied food to the sick. Moments they took extra from the grain bin. Moments they told a child the bread was safe. They write these things on the wall. Not for penance. For record. Because forgetting is how it began. That night you dream of kneading. Your hands are small again. You are young. Your mother tells you, "Push from the heel, not the palm." You press. The dough shifts. Something hard inside. You reach in. Pull out a sliver. A tooth. Your own. The one you lost biting old crust in the year of famine. You wake with your hands aching. There is flour beneath your nails. But you haven't touched the sack in days. You rise. Go to the chapel. The altar is bare. Except a bowl. Full of clean water. Clear. Still. You look into it. And for once do not see your face. You see bread. Torn. And scattered. And below it, a mouth. Not open. Not shut. Waiting. By the 25th morning, there is no sickness. No fevers. No humming. No death. The sisters still move quietly, but their silence is different now. It isn't fear. It's vigilance. You seal the oven. Stone and lime. Not to hide what was baked there, but to keep you from using it again. Julien scatters the remaining flour at the orchard's edge. One handful at a time. Like seed. "It won't grow," she says. You nod. "That's the point," she finishes. Then places the empty sack beside the well. You lower it in. Let the rope unspool. It drifts downward. Unseen. But not unloved. Back in the chapel, the wall of names is full. There is no more space. Some names have been overwritten. Others faded by candle heat. But they are all there. You touch the last one. Your own. Not for guilt. For truth. Because this wasn't a story about punishment. It was about how memory rots when hidden. And how easily we feed it to the next mouth when we're afraid to taste it ourselves. You kneel. Place a new book on the altar. Not of saints. Not of rules. Just pages. Empty. But waiting. You write the first line. "This bread was never meant for one." And beneath it, "We all chewed. We all swallowed. We all forgot." Julienne enters. Stands behind you. She asks, "Will we write all their names again?" You answer without looking. "No. Only those we'd rather forget." She kneels. Together you begin. Outside, rain falls. not hard. Just enough to soak the soil, to draw whatever still lingers in the ground upward. But for now, the oven is cold. The flour is scattered. And the silence speaks only what is true.